Ooh, look at all the pretty threads. So cool. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and this is Monday, August the 13th, 2018, and it's my weekly vlog. And I hope everybody had a good week, and I hope everybody's got a good week coming up for them as well. I just got back from the dentist this morning, 8 o'clock appointment for, my annual cleaning and checkup and the whole bit. And I'm happy to say no cavities, which is good. And I'm very, very particular about my teeth to start with. And for some reason, my phone's going off in my pocket. And I don't know that number, so I'm not going to answer that number. Anyways, do you get that a lot on your cell phone? At one point, it was the landline where you're getting all kinds of surveys and people trying to sell you stuff and clean your ducts. And now they're all coming on my cell phone as well. It is quite annoying. I wish there was something the governments could do about these unsolicited calls that people get. But anyways, what was I talking about? Yes, the dentist. So, clean bill of health there, and that is good. And I'm very particular about my teeth because both my parents had really bad teeth, and I don't want to have their teeth. So, anyways, everything's checked out fine. Okay, let's get into it. What's up for today? All right, I finished another Bland bag. Here it is. Now, I showed this yesterday on Stephen and Walter Live, trying to get it all in the shot. Walter and I had sort of a bag challenge. He decided he wanted to make a tote bag as well, so he did. I helped him out with it, and his was a little not quite as, what do you say, sophisticated? I don't know if that's the word for it. As complicated as this one, because this is several pieces of material and it's, attached together, and I've got pockets. Let's see if I can get them. I've got pockets on the inside as well. His is just straight material, lined, no pockets. I made a few mistakes on this bag, which luckily Walter did not make on his, and I would like to think that's because he learned from my mistakes. But his turned out very nice. And if you want to know about the mistakes I made in that, I did an Idiot Quilter episode. I think it's episode 22 about the idiot things I did with that bag. But I'm getting pretty good at making these bags, so what am I going to do with them all? I have a lot of bags. Time to start giving them away to people, I guess. And what else have I been making? Oh, okay, so my mother's birthday's coming up this week, and what do you get a woman that, at her age and everything like that? I thought I'd go out and get her a box of her favorite chocolates, and my sister's sending her flowers. She's in the hospital, of course, still. And I thought, she's got her hairbrushes and things there, and I did get her a plastic, one of those plastic boxes from the dollar store kind of thing, so she could organize some of her stuff there, because it's kind of all over the place, and she's in a very tight space. So I thought I'd make her a pouch, and I thought I'd do some embroidering on it. Okay, haven't got her a pouch made yet because I've been running into some problems. Here's the first one I made. Doesn't look too bad. And zipper. And actually, it turned out pretty good. It is not lined. It would be big enough for her brushes and things like that. I put a little embroidery on the front. The thing was that I wasn't happy about in this bag was the zipper. See, when you close it, you get this little area right here that just doesn't seal right up. And I tried to fix that. I tried to do other ones. This one's a little bit more elaborate. I got her name on it and the whole bit. And it's not, this one is not lined. Well, they are lined, but you can see the seams, okay, inside. And again, same problem. See what I'm talking about? There's a gap in where the zipper goes because the zipper can't go down. So I tried again. And this one, I wasn't that happy with the embroidery. It didn't show up all that well. I do these have boxed corners on them. Let me get this fluffed out so that they'll stand up. That first one I showed you did not have that. This one has box corners too. This is a little brighter material. And again, the embroidery shows up a little better, and it's lined inside. Now, I thought I'd be smart and put tabs on the zippers. Yeah, I put the zipper in wrong, so the tabs are in the inside of the bag. Not a good idea. So that was try number 3. So then I was watching some videos on YouTube, as I do, about embroidery, and I guess there's patterns where you can make zippered bags on embroidery hoops. So I did one, this one, and it did all the quilting for me. It's a quilted zipper bag. Now this zipper's down here on the side, which I kind of like better because you don't get that gap problem. Although this one is not very big. It isn't lined, and I wasn't that happy with a bit of the stitching that happened along the seams, although you can't really see it, don't notice it, but I know it's there. But not bad. I might attempt now to make another one of these, but maybe a little bigger with some embroidery on it. If I make it bigger though, it's not going to work with the design that I got using the hoops. But you know, quite honestly, making them with the hoops is not a time saver. In fact, it probably took a little longer than if I was to make this in the more conventional way. So I'm thinking of using this design and what I've learned about this design and just making it a little bigger bag so it'll hold more. Now this one does not have a squared bottom, but because it opens inside and it's kind of expandable, I think that might be the way to go. So we'll see. So yeah, I have a lot of bags, I have a lot of zipper pouches. And what do I do with those? I don't know. So moving on. Speaking of the embroidery machine, I decided to do a couple of towels with a butterfly embroidered motif. So I did 2 of these. So you get it the right way. This way is the right way. Sorry, I'm all over the place here. Okay, let's straighten up. So there it is. Now, if you look closely, you can see the antenna of the butterfly, but they're very faint. It was like only a single line of stitching that went around with that, which kind of gets buried in the nap of the towel. I made 2 of these. I flipped the image so that when they're hanging on the rack, the 2 butterflies are facing into each other. But I think I should have put the butterfly lower on the towel. Because when you hang these, you got to kind of fold them, you know, around the edges like this to get them positioned right. So I have a couple of more of these towels. These towels were cheap. They were like $2.50 a piece or something at a Jisk store, if you know what a Jisk is. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. It might be Yisk. Whatever. They're a bath and bed type of store, and they have furniture too and things like that. So that's where I picked up these towels. I have 2 more of these, and so what I might do is put the design a little lower on the towel, and I've got this design with 2 hummingbirds that looks kind of nice that I purchased online. I might use those instead of the butterflies because although these are very pretty, the butterflies, I just did not like where the antenna, how you can't see the antenna. It might have been better if I'd gone over it a couple of times, maybe. That would have shown up better, or a different color. I don't know. But one thing I'm really proud of is I was watching YouTube, and they were talking about making pillows, you know, couch pillows, from your scraps. And so I thought I'd give that a try, and this is what I created. And this was just from strips of scrap material that I had. And again, I went to that Yisk store, and they had outdoor cushions on sale for $4.99 a piece, which were 16-inch, which were the perfect size for putting inside of these. So rather than buying an actual pillow form, I bought an actual pillow. So there's a pillow inside a pillow in here. But you can't get a pillow form for that price. They're more expensive. So I thought, hey, go for it. And I'm thinking I should go later today back over there and buy a few more of these because I'd like to make a couple of more of these pillows. And the back, this is the back. I use 2 types of material, and in here, this is the little flap. I created this. I saw this on a YouTube video. And so I can take the cushion out if I need to wash this and pop it in the washing machine. So I'm really quite proud of this. It turned out pretty nice, I think. And it adds a splash of color to our couches in the rec room because they are sort of a neutral, light browny, beigey color. So they just add a real pop of color. So yeah, that was kind of fun. So now I know how to make pillows. So learning all the time. All right, so that takes us to the YouTube channel of the week. This one's a little different because it's not about crafting. It's not about quilting. You'll be happy to know it's not about quilting, I'm sure. As you know, my mother's in the hospital. How could you not know? I talk about it every week. And I am the principal caregiver in a sense. So I found this YouTube channel, just stumbled upon it by accident, and it's about caregiving. And it's got a lot of really good tips and ideas and things like that. In fact, there's one video on there that I haven't watched yet, but I want to, that talks about what to give somebody who's in a nursing home for a birthday or a Christmas present, something like that. So maybe I'll get some ideas for my mother's birthday coming up. But anyways, take a look at this because I think it's, you know, especially if you have aging parents or whatever, I think you'll find this a very useful YouTube channel. This week's YouTube channel of the week is called Caregiver Stress. And this is a much more serious type of YouTube channel because really it's giving you coping skills when you're dealing with elderly people. I find this one personally very useful since I am dealing with my mother right now. But it has a lot of really good videos and advice about what to do when you're the principal caregiver for an elderly person. But it's not all serious either. There is a great playlist called Laughing with Mary Maxwell on this particular YouTube channel. And Mary is hilarious. She's a senior citizen. She makes jokes all the time about situations that usually we find very depressing and also, you know, very serious. She looks at the lighter side of these kind of things. And I think when you're a caregiver for an elderly person who has dementia or other problems, Alzheimer's, that kind of thing, I think sometimes we need to step back and have a little bit of a laugh as well, because all seriousness depresses us. So if you want some practical advice that you probably find very helpful if you're in the situation where you're caring for an elderly person, then this is the site for you. So that takes us to a person of interest, and I don't have anybody this week, so you know the drill. Moving on. Video resources. Stephen and Walter Live from Sunday night is on there. Sunday afternoon, that is, when we did it. So the link is to that. There's a link to the 22nd episode of The Idiot Quilter where I talk about the mistakes I made in my latest bag that I just showed you. And I also have a link to my video about the Deakin journal that I created. And that's this right here. And I put this all into a video, a separate video to show you what it looks like inside. I made it all from Mike Deakin's products, including his packaging, and I explain all of that and why I created that in that video, so you might want to check that out. The link is below. And I talked about the caregiver stress. The link's below. And this week's book, when I come to it, the link for it is there as well. So moving on, what's pissing me off this week? Okay, it was in the news. Well, you may or may not know, but Canada has a reputation as being peacekeepers, and we also offer sanctuary to refugees, and this is not something new. We have always done that, but in the last couple of years there has been an influx and an increase in the numbers of people claiming refugee status who are coming to our country looking for, you know, protection, shelter, that kind of thing. We are getting a lot of refugees, of course, from Syria over the last few years and other, you know, war-torn Middle Eastern countries. But we've also been getting a lot of refugees from the United States. Especially when Trump first got into power, they were flooding our borders, and they were illegally crossing our border and coming into Canada. And there's a lot of places you can cross the border in this, because we have the longest undefended border in the world. It's well over 5,000 miles long. And, you know, we've always had friendly relationships with our neighbors to the south, and so there's been no real need until very recent times to get a little uptight about border crossing. They started it, wasn't us, okay? They've made it more difficult for us as Canadians to get into their country, and we, I think, are starting to make it a little bit more difficult for them to get into ours too. Because we're getting these refugees. Now, what's happening is these people are getting out of the United States. They're not necessarily full-fledged American citizens that are coming here. Obviously, if they feel that they need to get out of the United States, they must fear that they're going to be deported back to wherever they come from. So they come into our country. So what do? We have got news video of the RCMP, our major police force, helping people across the rocks at parts that are basically undefended, unsecure border crossings, if you can even call them border crossings, helping them in. They've even set up a little tent, give them some coffee, probably some Timbits from Tim Hortons, kind of a thing, and basically help them fill out paperwork and get registered and everything like that for entry into our country. Not only that, we put them up in hotel rooms free of charge while they're looking for accommodation and jobs and things like that. We even help them try to find jobs. Well, they put them up in the Toronto area, because that's where a lot of the refugees end up going. It's the largest city, and cities attract people, of course. And they've put them up into student residences for the universities and colleges in the area. But those students are going back to school at the end of this month, and they need their rooms. So they've moved them all out of the student residences so they can be cleaned up and ready for the students when they get there, and they've put them back into hotel rooms. And I guess they're going to be able to be in one of these hotel rooms until about the end of September. In the meantime, our government and government agencies are trying to help them find, you know, rental accommodation or whatever, or houses to buy, or whatever their situation is, and helping them find jobs and, you know, subsidizing them for food and things like that. Okay, you're going to say, that's really nice. And it is, of us as Canadians, that we are doing that. And this is costing millions and millions and millions of dollars. Last figure I heard, the city of Toronto, I think, or the province of Ontario, was looking from the federal government for something like $64 million to cover a lot of that. That's a lot of money. And that's a lot of money that could have been channeled into some other services that we desperately need in this country. Okay? Now, don't get me wrong. I really feel for these people. You know, I'm lucky to live where I live, in the country I live in. Okay? And it has always been our policy as Canadians to help out people who need help. Okay? And I don't see anything really wrong with that, except when you're helping out people who are not Canadian citizens, who for whatever reason have come to this country, and you're neglecting those people in our society that have lived here their whole life. And that group of people that are being affected the most, I think, are the senior citizens, are the elderly. And of course I would think that right now, given the situation with my mother. But here's the situation. We're giving unknown people who come from other parts of the world accommodation, helping them find jobs, subsidizing them for food. They get into our healthcare system, probably. Maybe not to the extent we are, but there's still that. If they need it, it's there. And the whole bit. My mother's waiting for a bed in a nursing home. And she's not the only one. There are hundreds, if not thousands. There's thousands of people across this province that have been on waiting lists for years trying to get into long-term care facilities, and they can't get in it yet. Why? Because there aren't enough beds available. the government isn't putting enough money into that part of the healthcare system so that there are more beds available, and there's not enough nursing help because the government won't hire more nurses and won't pay for more nurses for those situations as well. So here we go, $64 million to help refugees, and yet your own people that have lived here their whole lives, have paid their taxes their whole life, have contributed to all the social welfare programs through those taxes, and when their time comes and they're in need, there's no help for them. I'm just saying, you know, where's the justice here? Where's the fairness in all of this? I don't get it. I really don't get it. So that's pissing me off. It's especially pissing me off when I'm this close to it because of my mother's situation. And I have to think about myself too down the road as well. I'm not getting any younger. What's it going to be like when the time comes that I may need to be in the long-term care system as well? What will be there for me? Will there be any money? Will there be new facilities? I mean, our government keeps promising that they're going to build all these new facilities over a 10-year period. But that's what every government coming into power says they're going to do. And by the time they leave that power, nothing has changed out of it all. So, what do you do? Humanitarian reasons. I also wonder too about some of these refugees that come here. Are they that desperate? Really, it doesn't take much to declare yourself a refugee. It doesn't. And there's got to be people that are playing our system, playing us for suckers. And we are suckers with that. So I don't know. Maybe there is a screening process that, you know, we're not told anything about. Maybe it isn't quite that easy to get into this country, but according to what you read in the papers, you see on the news, you see on the internet and all that, and yes, it's media, and you have to take the media with a grain of salt sometimes. I'm not going to say fake news, but you know, it's embellished, kind of a thing. So what do you believe? But all I know is that when you hear they're saying that they're spending this amount of money on people who are not Canadian citizens, and yet you're not spending that kind of money to help those people that have, you know, worked, lived, supported this country their whole lives, and then you just sort of cast them off. That's not good. So that's what's pissing me off. Okay, moving on. New products. This is a quilting product, sorry, called Block Base. I have a program, as you know, called Electric Quilt. And Electric Quilt helps you to design quilts, and it's a very good program. This is an add-on called Block Base. It has over 4,500 pieced block patterns. That works in conjunction with Electric Quilt. And I thought, wow, this is really a great resource. And you can go in here and search for blocks by theme, by color, by material, things like that in it. Which I think is really good, and it works right along with Electric Quilt. Now, I have sort of learned how to use it. It's not that difficult to use. I haven't really used it yet. For that matter, I haven't really used Electric Quilt that much either, needless to say, but I did spend money on this. It was on sale. It wasn't a bad price, but of course it was in American dollars, so, you know, anything that's on sale and it's in American dollars, you lose that sale price basically in the exchange rate between American dollars and Canadian dollars. But I have it, and I think it's going to be very useful. In fact, it even gives a bit of a history about some of the more traditional blocks as well, which I find very interesting to know about it. So that's what's new this week. And let's go to book reviews. You notice I'm moving fairly quickly through this vlog today. The reason being is my vlog last week went on, I think, a little long. I had video clips and things like that in it. So, you know if I look at a vlog and it's over an hour long, I have a tendency to fast forward through certain parts of it. So I'm trying to make this one a little bit quicker. So, book of the week. Making Books by Hand by Mary McCarthy and Philip Manna. Last week I showed you a book about doing journals. Well, this is on a similar line, but this is a little bit more sophisticated because this one's really about book binding and the techniques for this. And when I first got into book binding, this was one of my go-to books, and I found this really helpful. And it talks about different kinds of albums, like photo albums. You have here scrapbook albums, all kinds of different ones. So a very, very good resource with a lot of pictures that help with their descriptions and with their instructions. And it's pretty clearly written as well. So this, if you want to get into serious book making. Now there's a difference between making a journal and making an actual hardcover book. A hardcover book is a little bit more sophisticated in the techniques you use, although you can use the same techniques with making journals. But oftentimes we think of making journals by, making journals from existing journals, so you fancy up the cover or whatnot, or, making them out of your scrapbooking supplies and things like this. This particular book talks more about using things like the professional level for making hardcover books, like book board and binding materials and the kind of specialized thread you use for the spine and things like that. So I find bookbinding, really interesting, and I should get back into making hard-covered books again. They are time-consuming. They are a little fiddly at first, but they're kind of interesting to make, and you never look at a book you pick up again in the same way once you've started bookbinding, because you start examining the quality of it, because you know from your experience of making them what it's supposed to be about. I would dearly love, and I thought I would do this once I retired, but that was 6 years ago and I haven't done it, of actually taking a bookbinding course. They are expensive because they're on a professional level, and there's only one place that I know of where I can actually take a course in this, and that's in Toronto. And I don't fancy driving into the city, right in the heart of the city, pretty much, to take one of these courses. And it's not a one-day course. It's over several weeks, and once a week or twice a week or something like that. Like, it's very, very intensive, and it's very, very expensive. I think the course runs in around $500 or something for that, and there's different levels as well. But never say never. Who knows? I might at some point in time. But anyways, in the meantime, a book like this can really get you started. So how much this book cost? It wasn't bad. It says on the back, and I think that was Canadian, I paid $16.99 for it. And I think it's about the same price on Amazon.ca, but I put a link below and you can check it out if you're interested. So that's the book of the week. And now we're moving into inspiration, and it comes from another book. I went to Value Village, which is a thrift store, basically. They take donations of clothing, books, all kinds of stuff, and resell it for the Diabetes Society, where a lot of the money goes. And I like to go in there and check it out. There's one very close to us, and we donate to them all the time as well. And I was going in to actually pick up some books for my mother. She started reading again, which is great, and so I thought I'd load her up. I would have preferred to have actually got her like a Kobo. That's what I use. A Kobo is like a Kindle. It's the Canadian version of it, basically, electronic reader. And I love mine. And in fact, I don't buy books anymore that are, unless they are like these kind of books. Even those I don't buy. If I can get them in electronic format, I do. I just prefer them. They're more portable because they'll work on my reader, but it links in with my phone. Like today when I was at the dentist office, before they took me in, I was reading the book that it's on my Kobo on my iPhone. It's right there. It knows where I left off the whole bit. So I always have a book with me in that format. So it's great. But my mother's not good with technology. And although using a Kobo is pretty easy, I know she just wouldn't get it. And so she likes the more traditional style. So I'm digressing. moved back on topic, went into Value Village to pick up some books for her. And while I was in there, I kind of looked through their craft section of books and found a couple of books about quilting that had some really neat pattern designs in them. So I got those. And then I saw this one in there as well, called Off the Shelf Fabric Painting. Getting a glare on it, sorry. And you know, I'm interested in making my own fabric, which, by the way, I haven't had any bites from any of the letters I sent out, emails I sent out to other companies about how I submit my designs. I got nothing from them. So I think that idea might be dead in the water. And the more that I've heard about getting into it, it's not easy. And I'm not an artist. So, you know, basically, so live and learn, whatever. But I thought this might be kind of cool because it's got different recipes, they call them, but of painting fabric. And I'm thinking what I'll look through this and find a project, and maybe I've got a whole bunch of ungessoed canvas that I might use as my material, do one of these techniques, paint it, and make it into another bland bag or something like that, or, you know, a journal cover or something like that, just to try it out, see what it's like. So, you know, and this book, when you go to some place like Value Village, a thrift store, and pick up these books, regular price on this, US price, it says, was $24.95, which meant that was more like about almost $30 Canadian, and I got it for $5.99. So you can't go wrong, really, with it, and it looks pretty good. So I'm going to be checking that out, and I'll probably make a video about doing that kind of thing. So that could be fun. Yeah. All right. And, you know, basically it's good inspiration too, because I'm sure some of the techniques in here could be applied to paper as well, you know, for background papers, for mixed media, or for journals or whatever. So that's something to look forward to. Okay. Turn the page over of my notes. So that brings us to what's in my drawers. And this week I'm going to talk about washi tape. Okay, this week in my drawers, it's about tape, washi tape to be specific. Now, this is just a small sampling of what I have. I have many rolls of washi tape. The reason being is, a couple of years ago, washi tape was all the rage, and everybody was buying this up. Problem is, well, I got caught up in that too. Problem is, what do you do with it? Okay, yeah, it's kind of pretty. Even companies like Elmer's or 3M were coming out with their own version of washi tape, which were maybe not as decorative as other brands like Tim Holtz washi tape. Loved that, bought all kinds of it. And it comes in all kinds of shapes and sizes and designs and the whole bit. I have used them on scrapbooking pages. I have used them in mixed media backgrounds, that kind of thing. You do find videos showing you how to use washi tape in creative ways, like to decorate picture frames, or, you know, I've seen people use it in YouTube videos for home decor, as in putting it on, you know, an old dresser or something to kind of fancy it up a little bit. And all these things are great ideas, I'm sure. But here's the problem I have with washi tape. It doesn't stick. A lot of it will peel right off. So you end up either having to glue it down, or what I've done in the case of mixed media pages is I've actually used gel matte medium over top of it to make it stick. Other things I have used washi tape for is to decorate my daily planner. And I've seen many people use it for that kind of thing. In Project Life projects, people use it on the cards. I mean, there are many ways you can use it. But I guess the reason I don't use it that much anymore, I mean, occasionally still use it, is because of its stick factor. It doesn't stick that well. I'm really not sure. Some don't have any sticky on them at all. Some do, like this particular one. This is really quite sticky, this one. But even so, since it's made out of like a tissue paper, I have found that, again, it'll start to peel up over time. Now, one thing you can do with it, though, that I have done, and it's kind of interesting, is you can take this, put it on a sheet of cardstock, Just randomly take strips of your washi tape, lay it down, let them overlap a little bit so you get a solid 8.5 by 11 sheet or whatever size paper you're using or cardstock you're using of washi tape. Then you can put it through your Cricut Maker, or you can put it through your die cutting machine, or use hand punches with it to create interesting looking embellishments. Again, however, I find that if you're going to cut dies with it, or if you're going to put it in your Cricut Maker, put a thin coat of matte medium or even a thin coat of Mod Podge over top of the sheet of washi tape so it doesn't peel up anymore. Only put a thin layer on because you want to be able to cut through that once it's thoroughly dry. The same if you use it to create background pages in a mixed media journal. You can lay it all across your whole page, fill the whole page with washi tapes, and it is quite effective, and it is quite can be very colorful as a background. But again, you need to seal it, I have found, with something like a matte medium that will dry clear on top of it before you add other layers, especially if you add other layers that are moist, because moisture and washi tape don't always get along. Again, you have this lifting up that happens. So the bottom line is I don't buy washi tape anymore. Quite frankly, I have too much of it to start with. I don't use it that much, so really it's a waste of money as far as I'm concerned. Maybe someday when the washi tape is all gone, which will never happen, I'll buy some new stuff.
Oh, and by the way, you might wonder how I store my washi tape. Well, a few years ago,
Michael's had this handy dandy little holder and
meant for washi tape. Although I think this little holder, I've seen other ones that are meant for spice jars as well. But I bought this, and it's got 3 little drawers, and they sit right here. And you can see I've got it labeled. And so that kind of keeps my washi tape all organized. You can put small things of ribbon in this kind of thing as well. Although you got to be careful when you open it, because these can bounce out, as you can probably figure out. But anyways, that's how I store my washi tape. Just thought you might like to know.
Now, I know there are plenty of YouTube videos showing all kinds of neat ways to use washi tape, and maybe I should go back and review some of those because, like I said, I've got too much washi tape. I got to use it up. Okay, so events in the past week. Update on my mother. She's doing well, still in the hospital, still waiting for a bed in a long-term care facility. We're starting into our 8th week in the hospital. But, you know, she's been in there for almost 8 weeks. Her spirits are pretty good. She's eating better, which is a good sign. And I think because she is eating better, I think she feels a little better as well. Plus, she's started reading, as I mentioned before, which is great because she was always a reader, always. And in the last 4 or 5 years, she just stopped reading. And all she did was watch TV. She has a TV next to her bed in the hospital, but I have noticed the last few times we've been going over there to visit her that the TV hasn't been really on. She's been reading. So I think that's a good thing. I mean, after all, I got my love of reading, which eventually turned into my career as an English teacher. Okay, that came from my mother. That came from my mother. So this makes me feel really good and happy that she is reading. So I'll find her all kinds of books. I know the kind of books she likes to read. So she loves those, you know, historical romance type books. You know, the ones with the guy dressed in the 16th century clothing holding the woman in his arms and she's scooped down here and he's got long hair, Fabio look, the whole bit. She loves those kind of books, and she loves good mysteries and things like that. So I know the kind of books she likes, so no problem picking them out for her. I just set her up with 3 more books, and yeah, that makes me happy. That makes me very happy. She's talking to other people that come in the room. Mind you, it's like a revolving door. It is a hospital. She's sort of a long-term resident at the moment. She does complain a little bit about this or that, but for the most part, she seems relatively content. Now, I know this is not going to last forever, okay? And I'm hoping that she gets someplace in a long-term care facility really soon. Of course, there's going to be a bit of a curve in emotion with that one because a new environment, not used to it. It's going to take some adjustment and the whole bit, but I hope this will help, this experience in the hospital will lead into something, a less of an adjustment period in a long-term care facility. And, there they have lots of activities to do. They'll get her up, they'll help her get dressed, they'll take her down to her meals, they'll keep her going. And there'll be lots of other people there to talk to and things like that. So I'm hoping that, we're on the upward swing with this, because if my mother is happy, I am happy. Okay? So simple as that. So what else in the past week? Walter made a pie. Not his first one. Okay? In fact, Walter's made pies for years, which is funny. He had to teach himself how to make pies because his mother never made pies. And so he taught himself how to make pies, and he makes the best pies, par none. His are excellent, and pie is one of my favorite food groups. So it's a win-win as far as I'm concerned. So I created a little video of his latest pie. He hadn't made a peach pie in a year. Well, that's because we don't really have peaches in the winter. Well, you can sort of get them, but they're no good. We want Ontario peaches, when they're ripe and ready to go, kind of a thing. And it turned out wonderful. And what he does is he usually makes several pies and freezes them. They're uncooked, and he wraps them all up and freezes them, and then he takes one out of the freezer and he cooks it. And they're great. So I thought you might be interested in seeing Walter's pie.
So, what you making? Walter's making a pie. What kind of pie?
Peach.
Peach pie. They're all sitting
If it
there.
works.
Pie is one of my favorite food groups. Walter makes good pie. He also makes a very strong glue, because he doesn't realize that flour and water make paste.
Well, I'm careful these days.
Oh, yeah. When was the last time you made a hot pie? You haven't made a pie in a while.
A year.
Yeah. I love pie. So he's flouring his dough, rolling out his dough. We'll come back later and see what it looks like. So Walter has his pastry all done, and he's sliced up his his peaches, and he's got them all in the pie. It's not pizza pie, it's peach pie. So there it is, waiting to go into the oven. And this is how he destroys the kitchen while he makes pie. It's pretty much...
Well, too bad.
Well,
you
too
want
bad.
pie, you're gonna have to deal with it.
Did I say I wanted pie? I always want pie. I love pie, but boy, certainly is messy. Messy, messy, messy. And so Walter's pies just come hot out of the oven, and he said I had to take a video of it before it deflates. Oh, and look, he even put little marks on the top of it. Looks delicious. Can't wait to try it. Hot peach pie. So we are now enjoying Walter's warm peach pie. And here's mine right here. And doesn't that look delicious? And it is very nice. And for the first time, he made a peach pie that's not runny. It's actually almost perfect. Well, possibly more than almost, but whatever. Do you like your pie?
Yeah, that's very good.
It's very, of course, you made it. You would say that, wouldn't you? So, yeah, that's warm peach pie in the summer made by Quilter. So, just looking at that video makes me hungry, and there's some of that still left over upstairs. Guess what I might be having for brekkie? Pie. Okay, what's coming up? So, last week I reviewed a YouTube channel and a website called Chatterbox Quilts with the Quilter's Way, and the lady who has put this all together, and she's created, as you know, a membership site called the Quilter's Way for quilters. It's $10 US a month. I've had a free trial membership for the last 2 weeks. It's up now, but I'm going to continue the paid membership because it is really, really good. Very professional. I gave you a bit of a sample of it last week on the vlog.
Well, I've been talking to Kim, and she lives out in Calgary, but her family, both hers and her husband's, come from Ontario. And so last Friday, they traveled out to Ontario, and I think right now they may be up in a place called Bracebridge, which is north of us about an hour or so. I think visiting her parents. And this week, at some point, they come down to Whitby. Whitby is the city next door to where I live, and to visit his parents. And I'm from Whitby as well. And so we got chatting about all of that. And so I invited her to come to our place this coming Friday to meet, and we'll have snackies and some drinks or whatever. And she seemed really interested in doing that. And so we have set the whole thing up. So I'm kind of excited to meet Kim in person, talk about quilting, talk about YouTube channels and stuff. She wanted to talk about that. And so I'm debating whether or not that I will record some of our get together with her. Maybe do a little mini interview with her about her channel and about, you know, her plans for the membership site and things like that. And I'll post that with next week's vlog. I'll see how she feels about that. I have a feeling she won't have any problem with that, because she's a vlogger. She's a YouTube channel creator herself. So she knows all about that kind of stuff too. So we'll see how that works out. But I'm excited to meet her, and she's bringing her husband along too. So that'll be nice. And her husband, I think, is very much involved with her membership site as well. So that'll be really cool. And who knows, her husband grew up in Whitby, I think. I don't think he went to the high school I went to. I think he went to the other high school, but nevertheless, we might know some of the same people. Who knows? It's a small world, after all. No, I'm not going to break out into song. Don't worry. So that's what's coming up. Looking forward to that. I don't know if we'll do it this week or not. Depends on the weather, but we've been talking about it, and we really need to do it. People on the Stephen Walter Live have asked that we create more videos about our area so people can see what they're like. So one of the spots in our area is called Parkwood, which is a big estate that was the home of Colonel Sam McLaughlin, who is the president of the Canadian branch of GM, General Motors, because that's what my town is famous for, is General Motors plant. Not so much anymore because it's been phasing out over the years, but at one time that was what the sole industry really was of this area. And he has a beautiful estate that has now been donated to the city of Oshawa, and it's run as a museum. And it's right sort of in the center of almost the downtown of Oshawa, but you would never know that when you go into the grounds. It's absolutely beautiful, and the grounds are gorgeous. And in the summertime, they have a tea house set up. So you can go in and have high tea or lunch or whatever. And there's a huge reflecting pool down there and gardens and everything. So we're thinking about going there one day, have lunch this week, if the weather's nice. And I keep looking out the window because it's sort of clouding over here today. Anyways, and you know, we'll videotape a little bit of that so you can see what I'm talking about, just for something a little new. So we'll see if we do that this week or not. And that's about all the plans we have for this week. Besides the fact that it's my mother's birthday on Wednesday, and I've already mentioned that. So I guess that's it. So I hope you have a good week. And there may be some more videos coming this week, some more Idiot Quilter ones. I don't know if I'll get around to doing anything in the more of the mixed media. I should, because I know a lot of you like to see those videos, so I should be doing something with that. And we'll see. Who knows? Every day it's something new. Okay? So have a good week. Bye-bye for now.